Good evening, everybody. Hope all you kalo enthusiasts are doing well. Today, we're gonna plant some kalo. We're gonna put our huli in the ground. We wanted to show you a couple of different methods. I got a 5-gallon pot. A 5-gallon bucket works just as well. This pot has been pre-holed. It's got a hole about every 6 inches and one at the bottom. Most important thing about kalo is the kind of dirt that you give it. Most farmers will tell you where the best soil is on their farm. In this particular little area here, this is a low point of the first upper section on our farm. And ironically today, we got our dingo stuck right here. And so we had to throw in some of this hay to get the dingo out. But while we were doing that, we noticed some incredibly delicious buildup of soils here. So as you can see, the soil, you can squeeze it together. You can make a ball, yet will break right back up into crumble. You know, really this stuff is harvestable with my hands. I'm simply harvesting it with my hands. This is one of the best parts, is when you really do find some high quality soil like this. So generally look for low areas. And what I was just looking for was a little beetle larva. Feed that to the chickens later. But just put in the goodness. Pack it in there. This is some years of biomass, and
not even years.
Well, the continual buildup. This has been multiple dumps.
Actually, somebody super smart came through here and mulched it this summer, so it's less than a year. It was mulch, and then it all broke down because we were continually watering it. So it doesn't take very long if you have the right conditions. I think we might have sprayed it with some of your spray initially.
Over the past 6 years, son, this area has been mulched a couple times. And sometimes that's not even enough. It really does take a while, and this is a beautiful low point in this whole area that's all washed out. All right, well guys, that's about how much dirt we need. And we're gonna go put some huli in the ground.
What are you doing?
I'm giving it just an additional layer of green waste right on the surface so that no weeds want to grow in there. And the soil's so nice, I don't even need oil today, so I'll just plant it right in there just like that.
Okay, so I thought we would start today by looking at Kopuke Kala o Keiki Kalo. This is a project that we put out a couple years ago, and I was fortunate enough to find one in the house. Notice all the keiki scratches all over it. But I thought we could take a minute to just look at the different parts of the plant anatomy. Yeah, lots of people are familiar with the oha, which is the smaller offshoots, right? The kalocorm right here. And what's super important in the cutting of huli is to look for the kohina, which is the very top of the corm. And you want to make sure that you leave enough space so that the huli will grow, but not too much space, because then it can tend to rot. So there's that. The other thing that I thought we would look at real quick. Oh, how's these mean graphics? Keiki Kalo can be anything you want. An MMA fighter, a street artist, the climate and the growth stages. So one question that we get a lot is, how do we know that our huli or our taro is ready to harvest? And a lot of people freak out, right? Because you have the beginning phase when you plant and you see the leaves growing and they're getting bigger and it's so beautiful and you're super excited, and you'll notice that each leaf that pops is progressively larger than the one before it, and then all of a sudden your leaves start to shrink down and you're like, oh my god, what's happening? It was doing so well. And so a lot of people will tend to start throwing fertilizers because they freak out, right? But actually what's happening is the energy is going into the corm, and the dying down of the leaves tell you that it's ready to harvest. So if your leaves start to die down, you should actually be getting really excited and start to look and see if you have evidence that the corm is getting ready to pull. Okay? So don't freak out if it starts to get smaller. All right. So we have a couple of different Huli today. You want to grab me that one over there, hon? And these I just grabbed from a bucket that we had in our yard. We started Huli banking them. If you came to any of our Huli giveaways, you might have got a Huli that kind of looked like this. And for prepping to plant, what we like to do is strip off all of the outer stalk parts. Okay, Uncle?
Baha.
Ooh, look at that rain. And you can see here, there's a lot of corm left. So we're gonna cut it to right below the kohina because we're ready to plant. You'll see this line right here. That line up. Okay. And just come through.
Hold on.
Oh, you're gonna Huli bank that?
I just want everybody to notice that the corm, you can see the corm is starting to rot here. And so sometimes the rotting corm will actually cause the Huli to die back, or will cause the worms to move in and eat your Huli in the ground. So that's one of the good reasons to cut it before planting. But it's also important to note that the main reason that we, especially for our Huli drives, leave a big chunk is so that the Huli doesn't dry out. It's designed for the lasting of a few days, if not a week or more. And the point is to recut it, to replant. I'm going to replant this one here.
Right hand.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Generally, we look at the split here as an indication of where the next leaf is going to come out. And it's really important that you kind of want to line up your plant so that this part isn't buried or is too far down.
Can you show them this part exactly? What are we looking for here on the stalk?
So let's take a look here.
Oh, here's a perfect example.
So the way that the kalo grows is each new leaf emerges as the previous leaf falls off and leaves more corm. So the leaf, actually, the energy of this goes from here, it goes right down to that, and it actually becomes the corm. Each new leaf that pops up comes out of this center vein right here. This lihi here can be many different colors, and so can the leaf. When you cut the Huli, generally you want to cut the stem above where the next leaf is going to come out, as to not damage the next leaf. In the planting of it, ideally you want to plant 8 to 10 inches deep, because taro grows from the bottom up, not from the top down. So this is a really important part. I got a lot of good soil in there, so I'm going to put it way down at the bottom. I'm just going to pack that right around it. And as this grows, I'm probably going to add more mulch to it. But there you go, that's a 5-gallon pot. Huli cut in the ground, ready to go. You can plant in the rain in the evening or at night.
Yep. So there's our corm. We're gonna plant this right now. Yeah, you wanna leave it so there's not a lot of meat. You can kind of see the eyes already starting to come out right there. Maybe those are root buds.
And this is just super important to remember, you guys, that there's so many different ways to do this. Yeah, so when you're out traveling and learning across the Pai'aina, across the Pacific and around the world about Taro culture, watch what the people there do and learn from them and ask them why they do it differently, if they do it differently from you. And then come back and teach us, because we're always excited to learn more about how to malama halua in a much more diverse way. And it's a plant that does have 2,000 varieties that literally has circumnavigated planet Earth, that brings so many people together. So don't forget that, okay? Remember, everywhere get one different way. Learn from those guys.
Yeah, I think what I've learned is that anytime I go and cut huli with somebody I've never cut before, I always ask them. Even though I've cut huli many times here, I ask them, can you show me how you prepare your huli? Because every farmer in every place does it different for a reason. So, you know, we're in Kahalu'u here. We're growing in dry land. We're not growing in Alohi. We're not growing in anything that there's a lot of water. So we prep our huli differently from somebody who's growing in Alohi. So I would say don't be ashamed to ask. Because the worst thing is to start prepping huli for a farmer thinking you know what you're doing, and you come to find out he or she cannot use that huli. So don't be shy. Ask them, how do you want me to do this? And I think a lot of farmers really respect that. Okay, so we're gonna just prep this huli. Okay. And these will go somewhere in our yard today. It's a good planting moon. Alright. You want to talk about what we do with these sometimes to huli bank?
I'll grab the knife real quick. So if ever you cannot get huli, a great way to make your own huli is to buy the kalo. Simply take the kalo. Try not to cut yourself.
You want to
Simply just bury them in the ground. From here, believe it or not, you can make all your own huli just from doing that. This one has clearer eyes and makas on it. I'll just tuck it in here, bury that, tuck it in there. As long as this area keeps moist, the next month and a half or so, some baby shoots should start coming out. That's a perfect way. As the shoots get big, I then remove them and outplant them. Generally, when the kalo is growing, if we're growing it for corm, we're not gonna mess with removing any of the keiki or the oha while it's growing. We really want to preserve the integrity of the corm. Anytime you break free from that, bugs, insects, viruses can enter the plant and negate all the months of hard work. So for us, generally, if we're gonna come and we're gonna grow for corm, when the makua, the main one, is ready to harvest, we'll harvest the makua. And then as we need oha in the future, we'll go ahead and pull oha from that area, but it is after we've taken the majority of the food out of it. If we do decide to eat luau from this, we wouldn't eat luau from these, and we eat the luau from all of the babies coming around it, as to once again not affect the growing of the central corm.
This is like one of my favorite gardening tools because I don't know.
Because when the kid's not listening,
I
this
can
one
get some
catch 'em real
leverage.
good.
This
Nah.
this part that
Can I be
I'm
telling all my
digging in
secrets?
was just recently mulched about 6 weeks ago. So you see there's a lot of fresh mulch coming up.
Too much fresh mulch will straight cook your taro.
Yeah.
So it's good for it to break down for a little while. Hold Tiger, hold on.
Let's see how this looks.
That looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good.
We're kind of spoiled with a lot of wet dry over here.
Can you look up another map that I'm supposed to
So the
be in
reason I
Gorilla
like
family?
to plant with this is
Got a
because
horse.
sometimes the o'opuka is actually too small. It's not going to be a problem today though. We're just going to take this guy, and I don't know why the uncle said that's why we plant with our right hand always in the ground. And just stick it in there. Sometimes we leave the puka, we don't even fill it with water, but I'm gonna, or with mulch, I'm gonna put a little bit of mulch just to keep it standing up. And then when it rains tonight, this will fill with water and the kids will come and run around, and eventually it'll just kind of fill up. The other thing to look at is spacing. We have the luxury of space, so we try to keep our taro at least 3, 4, 5 feet apart, because we can. So sometimes people come to us and they want like 30 huli, but they only get one small space. And you can pack them in, but we found it's a little bit better to give a little bit of room if you can.
So Uncle Jerry famously would always ask, how many different styles of planting are there? And you would generally respond to him, oh, mala and lo'i. Right, Uncle? And he'd be like, ole. Basically, ku and hina. And the ku style of planting is when the leaf, the pico of the leaf, faces the sun. Yeah, so we live on the east here. If we take this and plant it in this way, it's pico, the face of the leaf will face the sun, therefore absorbing direct sunlight. The hina style is when you plant the pico facing north and south, which allows the sunlight to hit the hip of the kalo, generating more heat, thus more babies. So ku gets bigger kalo, hina gets more babies. If you're growing for huli, you grow hina. If you're growing for ai makua, then you'll grow it in the ku style.
Turn them. Thanks, babe.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure what she wanted. Okay.
Nope.
Best way to get rid of your kids is have awesome aunties. And as you can tell with the kalo, it takes a community. The good thing about growing kalo side by side and not necessarily close, but if you notice, their leaves all point away. So they water each other. Yeah, so it's good to plant them in odd numbers, except for the number one, not the lonely kalo. All right, you guys, if you guys have questions, don't be shy to message us on our Instagram or send us an email. And we're all down to grow together. Blessings. Aloha.
Oh, hi.
Oh, what happened? Looks like you have something on your face that you didn't share any with me.
What you ate? Where you been?
Yeah.
Where was
Looks
you this
like
whole
that I
time?
was supposed to go and I didn't get to because we have to change.
Whoa, what?
Chocolate bars?
Yeah.
Oh, Auntie, put you right under the bus.
It was the chicken.
Ooh.
It was chocolate.
That wasn't a chocolate bar. It just tasted like it.
went on the jet ski.
It was sourdough.
You went on a jet ski?
Was it fun? Were you scared?
What? I wasn't going to ask you for a chocolate.
Mahalo guys.
They got to go to play.
Thank
I
you.
never
Together
got to
with
go.
the farmers, we
Thank
must
you.
rise. With the families and children by our sides, guided by our ancestors, planets all aligned as we hold space for the age of the mighty eye. As we hold space for the golden age of the mighty eye.